Juniors, timelines, and to-dos. This is Ed Sanderson, CEO of Douceurs Total College Solution, and it is March. And if there's March, there's things to do to get ready for college. I know this is going to blow your mind right now, but you are 6 months away from your first application, admissions, college. 6 months. So that means there's a lot of stuff going on. Let's talk about the basics first. One, always continue to work on your career planning development program. Who are you talking to? What are you investigating? What type of diagnostics and assessments are you doing to get a better understanding of who you are and how that applies in the career planning world? Two, community service, outreach, leadership. That is a priority for you, especially leadership. Where can you find opportunities to excel, put yourself in a position where you're taking the lead in either an existing club or even creating a new club? The other thing that I would say to you is that SAT, ACT prep, priority. And then there's extracurricular activities. What are you doing in sports, in groups, newspaper? What are you doing extracurricular wise? You want to continue to develop and maintain that continuity. But the one we're really going to talk about today is college lists. So that is a big step, particularly when you're talking about 6 months down the road. Building a list is pretty significant because there's a lot of colleges and universities. Last time I checked, it's close to 4,000 four-year universities and colleges throughout the country. So your list at the beginning might be pretty large and expansive. So I would suggest breaking this down by state and by public and private. The more information you can put in, the better the list is going to be. We use College Board with our students because they use it for AP tests and they use it for SAT tests. And it actually has a pretty interesting college search tool. It's just a really good tool to narrow your focus, and you want to save those lists. I talked about state. This is one of those conversations where we need to start talking about location. Where is it that you want to go to school? I'm out here in California, and usually it goes West Coast all the way to the East Coast and not much in between. So a lot of California schools, a lot of schools in Massachusetts, New York, those seem to be the most popular. So you want to break that down and identify which locations are important to you. If you're zeroing in on just one state, you want to stay close to home or as close as you can. Do yourself a favor and break that list into public schools and private schools. Now let's talk about statistical data. It's not everything, but it's something. So when you're looking at your GPA, you should be comparing that to freshmen that got accepted in previous years and see how you line up. And I talk about this in the SAT, ACT video, but having a score allows you some guidelines in terms of what they're looking for. And even if they're not going to use the scores this year, it still gives you an idea of where you sit in that 25 to 75 percentile. So 25% is kind of the lower end of the scale, 75% is the higher end of the scale, but that's like the middle 50% of who they let in and what the score range is. It's good to have an idea of what that looks like. And then when you're putting this list together, and I said it before, it's going to probably start pretty large and start to narrow down. You might add a few, you might take a few off. But let me give you kind of a formula that I like to use with the students. I call it the 3-6-3. 3 of those schools are going to be reach schools. 6 of them are going to be schools that are competitive or target schools. And then the other 3 are going to be safety schools. And that formula is flexible. You can go 3-6-3, 4-8-4, 5-10-5. The key component is balance. You cannot have 10 schools that are target or wild card and only have 1 or 2 that you're competitive at and 1 or 2 that are safety schools. That is going to be an unbalanced list. And I have to tell you, students that insist on having high-profile competitive colleges and universities find themselves in a difficult situation because down the road, what they don't realize is that they're probably going to get waitlisted and they might get turned down at a lot of these schools. So you got to create balance in that list. I use an expression called reach and wild card. A wild card school is a prestigious university or college that has a large number of students that apply on an annual basis. And because of that, you might statistically look good when you look at the numbers compared to the incoming freshmen in the previous year. But there's so many of them to pick from that we would call that a wild card. There's no definitive answer whether you're going to get in or not because they have so many qualified students to choose from. A reach school is a prestigious university or college, or a school that in your mind might be a tier 1 school that have very high admission standards. Again, you might look good on paper, but it's a reach because there are a lot of young men and women who also look extraordinarily good on paper. Or maybe a better way of looking at this is that's a tier 1 school, and maybe you've got tier 2 grades and test scores. So maybe the average student coming in there has a 4.2 GPA on a 5.0 scale, and you're a 3.7, so you're just a little bit below. So that would be a reach school. Maybe their SAT scores are in the range of 1,500, you're at 1,380, that might be a reach school. You might have some of the other things that they're looking for, which is why you might want to apply. You've got really good leadership. You wrote really powerful essays. You've got a lot of things in your extracurricular program that you've accomplished that might be really important and valuable to them as they look at the overall picture. 6 months, that's all you've got to start to build that list, and you want to get familiar with them, understand their programs, where they located, and build a list that's going to be flexible and it's going to be balanced. My name is Ed Sanderson, and I'm the CEO of Douceur Total College Solution. Talk to you next time.